A signing that might mean even more than it appears to mean on the surface, plus a theory that sounds crazy, but it might make more sense than anything else. It is SNL. Andrew Locker, Cody Stutes with you. June continues. The countdown to camp continues as well. We're less than 40 days away, and the Texans have made a signing. The Texans have signed a cornerback, Damon Arnett, former first-round pick of the Las Vegas Raiders. Who could forget that Mike Mayock, John Gruden era? The same draft that produced Henry Ruggs in that first round produced Damon Arnett, and now Damon Arnett, after getting a couple chances in the NFL and kind of fading away, Damon Arnett with the Houston Roughnecks, and now he is a Houston Texan.
Yeah, Arnett, cornerback, first-round pick by the Raiders in 2020 and was a free agent in 2021, which is never good when you're a first-round pick and you're a free agent a year later. Hasn't played in an NFL game since 2021. He's been on some practice squads and bounced around a little bit, but his most recent football action was this past year in the UFL with the Houston Roughnecks. And part of the reason Damon Arnett hasn't played football is because he's got a lengthy off-the-field list of things that made teams not want to put him on the football field. I mean, it started from basically as soon as he became a member of the Raiders to all the way to as recently as last January. And it's a variety of different things, and it's taken him a long time to claw back onto the football field, but here he is now with an opportunity to put the past 5 years of self-inflicted mistakes behind him and just play football.
Yeah, it's actually kind of interesting because the Raiders thing is kind of what catapulted it. Miami kicked the tires. The Chiefs actually kicked the tires as well. And it seemed like the Raiders incident kind of catapulted it. I'm actually going to dive as deep into that incident as humanly possible tonight at 10:30. So you don't want to miss that. But it is a unique situation. There's a lot of things that may surprise you when it comes to Damon Arnett. But from a Texans perspective, I think it's interesting because not too long ago, the possibility of this even happening would have been dismissed.
Oh,
and
sure.
Now they're making signings and they're rolling the dice on Arnett at a position relative need. Another interesting fact about this: his college teammate, also drafted in the first round of that draft, was Jeff Okudah, who we saw struggle to solidify that number 3 corner spot. Those two, they kind of complemented each other nicely at Ohio State. It's very low risk, but I think the thing that is the most relevant here is this is not your granddad's Texans.
No,
I'm not sitting here saying they're the Chiefs or anything. Like I don't think they're going to draft Tyreek Hill after he punches his girlfriend in the stomach when she's pregnant. But I do think that they're probably a little bit more open to these types of things, which I think is good, because my thing has always been that if you have this badass culture and if you have this awesome leadership that you talk about, then are you really fully benefiting from it if guys already have to be finished products when they come into the building? And we've talked about this a little bit, and I really didn't know the answer to that question. I didn't know if the Texans would be willing to kick the tires or give a guy a second chance like this. And I think it's worth giving him a second chance. And I think it's good that the culture at least is a little bit open-minded to where they're willing to roll the dice on guys like him.
You create football culture that you are proud of for situations just like this. So when a guy comes in the building, he has the best opportunity to be the best version of himself. And if he makes a mistake, it's his fault. It's not because the team didn't put him in the right situation or give him a good opportunity. If you have a box that they have to check, what's the point of building the culture? You build the culture to assimilate people to how you've put the team together, not only to just pursue those type of players. And with Arnett, you get that. Now, he's had himself out of trouble for over a year now. The last time he had any sort of legal trouble was in January of 2024. But with a guy like this who's had these various things pop up time and time again, he now sees what a little bit of focus can bring him. And then he gets in the building and gets even more, because it's one thing to be in the UFL and like know that you have to do that to then get a chance at maybe being in the NFL. But once you get in the NFL building and you've got guys that you could lean on, you've got a support system in there, you've got veterans that keep you in check, not only on the field, but hopefully in the locker room. You give yourself an opportunity to find out if this guy on the field is worth a crap.
Yeah, and the Okudah comparison in the chat, someone brings up, let's go H-Town, says, didn't we try this last year with Okudah? He was also a first-round pick too. It almost seems like we give these guys the benefit of the doubt. Well, Okudah wasn't like a league minimum deal that you're bringing in to compete for depth. There was actually, I think, hope when they signed him that
it's for like $5 million on him.
He could be CB2. That was kind of the hope. He could be Steven Nelson at the very least. And he can't hold Steven Nelson's jock. So
they signed Jeff Okudah in case Kamari Lassiter needed time to learn the position.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that Kamari didn't need the time and Okudah wasn't very good.
Yeah, they're also different types of players. He's probably a little bit more versatile than Okudah. Okudah's kind of like a big physical guy. We'll see what he looks like and how it is, but I wouldn't compare it to Okudah just because they played at Ohio State, same position, former first round. But I just think there's some irony in the fact that those guys, there's some irony in the fact that those guys
were on the same team.
We're on the same team, and now they're back-to-back Texans. So
with the chance to take the position that the guy the previous year couldn't take.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, like he's competing with Jalen Smith for that backup outside cornerback role and D'Angelo Ross to an extent, but I feel like D'Angelo Ross is probably best cast as a clear depth piece and a special teamer at this point in his career. And this is a very low risk, medium reward move. And look, this guy was a first round pick for a reason.
Yeah, a little overreach.
Right, but he still would have been a late first round pick. Like
or second.
Or early second round pick. Okay, well, Jeff Okudah's body betrayed him. Like he wasn't any good in part because physically he wasn't the same guy after injuries. It's not like Arnett's had a bunch of physical stuff he's had to deal with. It's been his actions that have kept him off the field, not his body or his health. So I'm intrigued to see what he has. I certainly like what he said in all the interviews that he's given about how his head's on straight and he's got a good support staff and he realizes, hey, I'm a father of three and I got to be better and I got to provide and I got to set a good example. And hey, saying all the right things for over a year now, he's done all the right things. Why not give him an opportunity?
Yeah. And I actually know someone who interviewed him I know him very well. I actually talked to him today. And talked to him when they worked him out. Jean-Jacques Taylor, one of my really, really close mentors, good friend of mine. And I mean, he says that the guy comes from a pretty good family. Jacques actually good friends with his uncle. His uncle is out in Dallas. He's a cardiologist. I think the kid just kind of changed when he went to college and got a little bit of fame. Like it's not. I also don't think it's one of those instances, which I've seen some people kind of assume, where he just like had some rough upbringing. He has a really solid family. He actually went to the same high school as the Bosa brothers. So that, I mean, like Michael Irvin went there. Like it just seems like he kind of lost himself somewhere along the way. And I think it all spiraled from the one incident, which I actually kind of defended him on. It was kind of representative of what was probably an inevitable bad ending, but the social media incident was a little bit interesting there. Something interesting about that was, did you know, like the actual video was from, according to him, it was from December of 2020, and it wasn't dropped until early November of the next year. 2021. So he had actually gotten hurt and was working his way back. And the video wasn't actually, it was actually months earlier from there, from that incident. So kind of crazy, kind of interesting. I'll dive deep into that, as deep as you can go into that a little bit. So we'll see what happens with Arnett. Are we anticipating some sort of big impact? No. But I think the large thing to take away from this is the Texans are not completely dismissive of guys who have, for lack of a better term, rap sheets, and they're willing to give second chances.
Yeah, Rick Smith never would have signed this guy.
Yeah, and Bob McNair probably would not have either. So
and the Easterby O'Brien duo probably wouldn't have signed him either.
Yep, for sure.
So it's a break from tradition, and again, you build a culture so that you can bring a guy like this in and find out what the football player is, and you hope the locker room can take care of the man behind the football player.
No doubt, 100%. So Damon Arnett, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how the whole thing goes. We'll get to the soups at the end. There's a nice little list. Shout out to Trill Kick X. He's got some kind of off the dome type of stuff. Shout out to Kyle Nance. He says, "What up? How you doing, my friend?" Austin Jack, per the use. He says afternoon as well. And we'll get to Trill's late. He wants to talk about the wide receivers and the offensive line and all that. But I also want to talk about something that Cody Stutes brought up the other day that I want to say it sounded crazy, but it actually makes too much sense. So we were sitting around and we were talking about the Tennessee Titans, and I was joking around that Everett Greelings, who just got signed as their head PR guy, is the perfect guy to oversee the 2 head coaching searches that they'll have in the next 5 years. And that was kind of my thing. I was like, yeah, you'll do a good job of those 2 head coaching searches, as well as when you are looking for a new quarterback in 3 years after Cam Ward sucks. It'll be great. You'll do your thing. I'm rooting for Cam Ward, but I don't know. I don't know how that's going to go.
Right.
But as I was saying that, you said, and I think this is funny, you said they might F around and end up signing Nick Caley. And I thought about it. Number one, that is kind of the danger, and that's always the pushback on having a defensive-minded coach, is if an offensive coordinator is awesome, then he's gone. And then he's gone, and you have to overcome that situation, and you have to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the give or take when it comes to having a defensive-minded coach. Number two, if Nick Caley is good and he is going to be a future head coach, it only makes sense that Amy Adams Strunk, I'll call her by her name today. I'm in a good mood. I won't call her Stank. But it only makes sense that the lady who seems to like to take from the Texans, she hired Mike Vrabel when he was a linebacker coach, straight to Tennessee, player after player, the uniform controversy. Hell, Everett, some would say that was kind of a quick launch up, although I think he's going to do an excellent job at the job.
Mm-hmm.
It does make sense, and I don't think. And the other thing is, we don't think Callahan's worth a damn.
I forget his name all the time because he just can't. He cuts. He has no presence.
That was a terrible hire when they let Vrabel go. But it does make sense that if Nick Caley is good, perhaps the Tennessee Titans would be the team that would be interested, just because of the pettiness and just because of the fact they don't have a very good coach.
Like, it's a dream and a nightmare for the Texans at the same time. The dream is your offensive coordinator comes in and right away he's good enough to be in the conversation, the real conversation for head coach jobs. I'm not talking about the let's give Bobby Slowick an interview and get him on the radar in the next couple of years type interview that he got after his first year. But I mean, you've seen it, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the best example of it. It does not take much to get a franchise who's been sort of, treading water to want to make a big investment in a younger guy that's an offensive-minded guy. And the Buccaneers have lost their OC back-to-back years because it was a young guy who did well coaching offense, and the organizations that snatch those guys up have been treading water. You know what the Tennessee Titans are doing right now since the departure of Mike Vrabel? They're treading water. Their coach stinks. Okay. At the end of this year, they're going to fire him. And the dream is if Nick Caley's good enough to be interviewed for that job, he probably had a pretty good result as an offensive coordinator in his first year as an offensive coordinator for the Houston Texans.
And he has a connection there too with the front office.
Dave Ziegler, who was in New England when Nick Caley was there, then went to Las Vegas, is the assistant general manager for the Tennessee Titans. And the current general manager didn't hire Brian Callahan. So it's a dream in that your offense is good enough that your offensive coordinator is in consideration for a head coaching job. The nightmare would be that he's that good, and then you got to play him twice a year because he's the new head coach of the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, and that nightmare kind of exists on a different level, even if the Titans don't make the hire. It's just there's a lot of connection with the Titans. You're right. They hired Callahan, and then they hired the GM. It was weird as hell. So like of all the teams you could see looking for coaches sooner rather than later, it's them. But the other part is if Nick Caley is really good, then that is the life that you've chosen when you have a defensive minded coach, which I'm fine with, but that is the life that you've chosen. So if Nick Caley is the next big thing, then you're going to have to figure it out and you're going to have to move on. The other thing from that perspective, and we're getting ahead of ourselves, but it is, it's that time of the year. The other thing is like, what is even the backup plan if that doesn't work out? That's always the important thing is what is the backup plan? The backup plan with the Patriots was, well, we have Tom Brady and he's basically like an extra coach. And although he was much better with McDaniels than most, but what is like the backup plan with this? Like that would be the other thing. It's the first year of the system. You don't have quite like a pipeline set up. So
yeah, but look, if Nick Caley's good enough to get hired, part of the reason you had such an extensive interview process and the number of names that you did talk to is in case he is good enough to leave after a year or two. And you can swing back around to some of those names and see how they're doing. I mean, a lot of those guys would still be available here a year later if Nick Caley was good enough to leave after 1 year.
Yep.
I mean, you think about, the Syracuse offensive coordinator. Okay, well, he's still available. The Packers offensive coordinator, he's still available. The, coffee kid from Minnesota that they were all gushing about. Yeah, he got a different job, but he's available. There's a lot of those guys they talk to that you could still go out there and hire.
Yeah, it's just the system, the connection, all that. And notice we didn't really mention Gerard. I don't know, like what does Gerard run?
Yeah, he got an interview last year, but I feel like as much as that interview was, it was also, hey, let's get the speak freely about why it didn't work and why should we keep you.
Yeah, I don't even know what I don't know if he did a good job as a QB coach last year. I have no idea. I know CJ swears by him. CJ swears by Shaq Mason. So there's some bonds and stuff there, but I don't know what the backup would be. Good news is you don't have to worry about it unless Nick Caley's really awesome, and then you figure it out. It's probably it's why you call it the good/bad theory. So there you go.
Maybe you go pick off the Rams one more time and you go get Dave Ragone.
That's probably the move, right?
Yeah, look, the names that they interviewed that didn't get a job where they couldn't take over for Nick Caley: Grant Udinski, Brian Johnson, Thad Lewis, Bill Lazor, Gerard Johnson, Adam Stenovich, and Jeff Nixon. All those guys could still take the job. Ultimately, Caley got the job. They can't hire Chip Kelly. He got hired. And then there's a bunch of other names that, didn't move or haven't moved or that you could still talk to. Like, there's no shortage of offensive guys to go find. It's kind of a weird thing to wish because you'd almost want it to be 2 years. You'd almost hope that Nick Caley would do the Ben Johnson, be like, I'm good. I'll stay around here one more year and kind of up my profile a little bit. That's what you hope when you have a defensive-minded coach or a non-offensive play-calling coach is you hope that your guy's Ben Johnson and he's like, I'll hang around for a couple more years just to kind of wait for that right opportunity. But, that's not always going to be the case. And it's hopefully a conversation we have, if not next offseason, 2 off seasons from now, because that means Nick Caley did a good job.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have.
Yeah,
but it can be a massive problem. Patrick Mahomes never had to worry about losing his mastermind.
True. That's true.
So that's just kind of what it is. Josh Allen's been able to juggle it pretty well with multiple guys.
Lamar's had success under different guys.
He's won MVPs with multiple guys. So
yep.
Yeah, some guys don't have to worry about it. Some do. That's always the pushback of a defensive-minded coach. It's the number one thing that gets brought up whenever that stuff happens.
That's something where, like, I wish at the end of the 2025 season we'd be like, well, CJ's awesome, so it matters a little bit less who the guy is that you bring in there because we feel like he can succeed with just about anybody. He's not to that level yet, and if he did perform that well in 2025 and could start to build that level of confidence, I don't think that's a 1-year thing. That feels like a multi-year, 3-4 year cycle where you'd be like, yeah, who calls the plays doesn't matter. The quarterback's awesome. Like, I don't give a damn who Josh Allen's OC is. Like, they're going to be good. He's really good. I'd say the same with Lamar. I'd say the same with Mahomes.
Yeah.
There's levels.
Andy Reid helps though.
There's levels to it. Like, are they going to be as good if Matt Nagy is the head coach and not Andy Reid? Probably not. They're still going to be good.
Yeah, and if I was to look at this, like
the quarterback can lessen the coordinator's necessity to be awesome.
If I was to put this like in perspective of like quarterbacks who've kind of benefited and taken the next step, I would say things weren't great, but they weren't as good as they could be with Slowick. So you move on and you hope that CJ takes the next step. It's kind of like Lamar, where Greg Roman basically writes an offense on a napkin. You win MVP, and then it gets kind of stale, and you pivot to a new OC. And and in Buffalo, you have success with Ken Dorsey, and then you move on. So sometimes, like, the good thing that I like about the change, outside of the fact that it was obvious that it just wasn't working with Bobby, it kind of became apparent, was there doesn't have to be like a rock bottom for you to make a change. There's at least some proactive desire, proactive effort to get better and not settle for less.
Right.
Because you could have, I don't think it would have been overly popular, but it wouldn't have been. I think Bobby probably would have had decent defense had they decided to bring him back. And D'Amico could have easily justified it. He just showed that he doesn't move like that for whatever reason, regardless of what other voices or whatever there were.
I'd be picking the Jaguars to win the AFC South if Bobby was still the OC.
Oh, would you?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I said yesterday, I think the biggest emerging star in this division could be Liam Cohen. I could see that happening where he's kind of one of the toasts of the league. I also think Brian Thomas Jr. is close. So yeah, I could very much see that. It's going to be a battle for sure. I'd
be not thrilled with the direction of the offense if Bobby was still here.
Well, we weren't last year. There's no adjustments. Square peg, round hole. That is the passive aggressive dig at Bobby Slowick that we've heard a couple of times from D'Amico and Caserio. So yesterday I looked at watched the interview with Jared Patterson on Texans radio.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get a chance to take a look at that?
I have not watched that yet.
Yeah, I don't think you should like set your DVR or whatever for it. It's just something you kind of come across when you're scrolling. I didn't know he was as injury prone as he is, like going back to Notre Dame.
Jared Patterson?
Jeez. 2 foot surgeries 1 year after the COVID year. Then a shoulder surgery, then another injury, then the injury his rookie year, and then he was banged up apparently last year. He said this is the first year that he's felt good. Now, part of me says, cool. okay, you feel good. That's great. But then the other part of me says, well, for now.
Some bodies aren't built for football, or they're built for small stretches of football, not seasons of football.
Yeah, I had no idea it was that bad.
I didn't know the college history, but certainly he's had trouble staying healthy at the NFL level.
Yeah, he went through it. And I was like, okay, well, we'll see. Probably the backup center, maybe. Don't know.
Right now I'd call him the backup center.
We'll see what Andrews looks like when he actually has to block people.
But, not like he's got a super long, healthy history. He's played 70 snaps in the NFL because he was hurt last year.
Yep, he was on IR. The meniscus got him. On the super chat, Trill Kick X has a hell of a lot of questions.
Some good questions.
Swarm.
And this is the good stuff. This is good rapid fire we love in June, so we appreciate you, Trill. He says, Caserio in year 5 of his 6-year deal, does he get an extension regardless?
It would not surprise me if his people were talking about an extension right now with the higher ups. They say, hey, let's put this on your radar. Nick's had a lot of success.
Regardless, don't know. I know they've given him a promotion, or at least like raised him, and then they got Lifford. They gave Lifford and his boy some assistant GM title or something like that. So, I think that if they have to make an extreme change, he would be the one to go, not D'Amico. But I would probably think he's leaning towards an extension. I would say, although the most difficult part of his job is the present. I will say that.
He's got a lot of good arguments to say, hey, go ahead and take care of me and make sure I'm here, because there's a lot of really important things that the organization needs from me in the next few years, and changing course now would be a weird time to change. So he's got a good argument. I also found it strange is not the right word, but it was notable to me, the effusive praise without asking about it from D'Amico Ryans of Nick Caserio in that last offseason.
Yeah, that was weird. And it had nothing to do with anything. It was just a normal thing. And it was like, let me just say this, the reason, blah, blah, blah. And then the way he was acting after the draft, where he just seemed a little bit moody. And then he said, someone pounded the table for this guy. I did wonder. I'm with you. I thought it was weird where Nick Caserio just got brought up as if there was a question about the job Nick that was doing or anything.
If you really want to, distill down his job into how well did the offensive line rebuild go this offseason, it's not like he was alone in this. Like, D'Amico Ryans had to sign off on the direction they took with the offensive line. But if you wanted to wait till next offseason to sign into an extension, be my guest. He's got every argument to get signed now.
I do wonder, though, from Nick's perspective, New England put up such a big fight to keep him around. It was a very intense fight to keep him around, and he clearly wanted to leave. And I would assume that part of the reason he wanted to leave is because he wanted to have his own organization. He wanted to see things his way. Working with Belichick, probably not the easiest thing to do, probably not the greatest thing to do, although there's definitely benefits, and he wouldn't be where he is without him. But now he comes to Houston. He actually came into a great situation. That's one of the things that I think is the biggest myth. If ownership's going to be patient with you for 2 years and there's no pressure to win, and you basically get to pay off all your debts, in other words, eliminate all the dead cap, trim the fat on the roster, stockpile assets, you have a franchise quarterback that wants to go, that's eventually going to get you all that draft equity. It's not a bad thing, especially you can oversee it. And you're allowed to make 3 coaching hires in 3 years, which I think he should have been. I'm not questioning that. I never criticized any of that because I bought into the process over results. But after that happens, there's still a little bit of apathy. And then you bring in the chosen one, the right guy, the top guy. And all of a sudden, I don't want to say it's like working with Bill Belichick, but it is an extremely collaborative effort. I would say that the pie is at least divided evenly. So it's probably a little bit different. It's probably not like working with Bill Belichick, but it's probably a little bit different than what his dreams were when he first got here. Just from a human perspective.
Sure. But I mean, he deserves a good amount of credit for what they've been able to do. It's
no doubt. He deserves a ton. He deserves a ton.
If this is like baseball, GMs do this. They just leave, they take a year off, and then they get a whole nother organization. They get to rebuild it. Like that doesn't always happen with football GMs. So if he wasn't the GM of the Texans, like he's not doing what Dave Ziegler did, which is just go bounce around a couple of consulting things and then be an assistant GM. Like Nick Caserio would wait till another team asked him to be a GM, I would think. But I would tell you that's a less fun option to go, or less fun road to go down than just figure out how to make it work with the Texans.
No, I know. He deserves credit. I'm just saying the hard part is now. It's not like I always like, I hate I always use this comparison. I'm going to use it. I hate when people compare what Sark has done the last 2 years to what Tom Herman and Charlie Strong did. It's completely different. Like it's NIL, it's all that. Like Nick Caserio, it's not like he came to Houston and they said, all right, we got to win. We got to really, we got to win. No, they just said, hey, take your time, do what you got to do, process over results, stockpile assets. So it's actually better to bottom out than it is to be on a mediocre treadmill. Like the mediocre treadmill is much worse, where you're winning like 6, 7, 8 games. They did a good job, but I think if you told a lot of GMs you're going to inherit a franchise quarterback that's going to eventually be traded, you're going to be able to trim all the fat immediately, or actually not even have to do it immediately. Like let it kind of play out. I'm sure they would like that situation. I mean, there's a reason that this was such an appealing job for D'Amico Ryans, and Caserio did go through the mud and he dealt with the crap. So he deserves a lot of credit for that. I just, kind of interesting when you look at it, that it's actually more difficult now than it was then, in my opinion. Trill Kick X asks, Titus grade at guard last year was in the 40s and at tackle was the 70s. Why are they leaning guard?
I'm assuming he means like Pro Football Focus grade.
I guess.
Okay. They just don't believe in him as a guard. I mean, that's
tackle.
As a tackle, they just don't believe in him as a tackle. I mean, they had every opportunity to make him one of the starting tackles and put him sort of in the lead to be one of the starting tackles, and they decided to make him a guard.
All right. Combo from Trill. He says, can you give your top 5 wide receivers in the NFL? And he asks, can Nico Collins break Andre Johnson's 1,500-yard rushing record? And is he a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL if healthy?
Okay. Let's answer can he?
If healthy, 17 games. He has 17 games to do it. A little less than 100. Anytime Nico Collins is on the field with CJ Stroud, it's 100. 100 seems more likely than 50. He
averaged 83.8 a game last year. And that over 17 games is 1,400 receiving yards. So,
and that's with missing a half of a game.
Sure. Well, it's basically everything after his first catch in the Buffalo game.
Yeah.
So he's going to have to play 17, something he's never done before. And he'd have to be excellent the whole way through. If there was a year to do it, it's tough because I feel like if they get up big, they're not going to keep throwing the ball. They just run it. Because that defense is, if the defense is keeping the other team from scoring, but you're scoring.
I think he could easily do it.
Could he do it? Yes.
I think he could easily do it if healthy. He said if healthy, yes. I think you're thinking this.
I would put it as a long shot. Like I'd say probably 25-1.
Yeah.
Even if you told me he's playing all the games.
Crazier things have happened.
Who's your top 5?
Top 5 is Jefferson, Chase, Puka. No particular order. I think Puka's up there.
Jefferson, Chase, Puka.
Jefferson, Chase, Puka.
CD?
Yeah, CD's up there, and CD's a full with it. That's just kind of, you can't judge last year, although he did play hurt and do his thing. You got to put CD up there, and then 5.
Amon-Ra?
I guess. There's still kind of a slot. Yeah, yeah, you got to put him on Raw. Although he hasn't played without Ben Johnson yet.
Chase Jefferson and Lamb have to be in the top 5 for me. I mean, I understand some people are going to be like, you sure about Lamb? 2 years ago, he had 1,700 receiving yards. So, like, yeah, I am
he
sure.
didn't have his quarterback last year.
Yeah, I am sure. And then Brian Thomas Jr. is in there for me already. He's awesome. And he did it with crappy quarterback play on a crappy team.
Yeah, BT and Nico are kind of battling for the best. This is not like the most popular thing to say in here, but they're battling for the most the best wide receiver in the AFC South, and he's done what Nico hasn't done. The one opportunity he's had to play every game, Brian Thomas played every game, and the biggest knock on, Nico not producing early on was, well, he didn't have a quarterback. Well, Trevor Lawrence was hurt last year playing with one arm, and then he was playing with freaking Mac Jones.
Yeah.
And some other guys. So yeah, I think he's right there on the fringe.
And then
that pretty much covers it.
And then Amon-Ra for me, and then right close to those guys, Nico, Malik Neighbors is already awesome.
God,
he's so good.
He's in no man's land.
He is going to be big numbers on bad team guy for a few years, because the Giants, I don't see it turning around anytime soon for them.
Yep.
And Garrett Wilson's very good. AJ Brown's very good.
But I think we got the 5.
That's pretty much it.
Some would probably argue with Puka. I think Puka's full with it, dude.
Puka's awesome.
Yeah, I think Puka's a full with it. So,
and it's
Puka.
I'll tell him myself at a TBD if Landry's going to agree. I didn't get it with Puka before last year, and I sat there and ate my words throughout the entire 2024 season because.
Yeah, but you felt pretty good that opener where Cup was going ham, and then I was like, well.
I did. There might have been a moment last year where, to the fantasy group chat, I said, "Could you imagine drafting Puka Nacua over Cooper Kupp?"
There ain't no may have about it, Holmes. Could you? I
think the exact phrasing was, "I'd be sick with myself if I drafted Puka Nacua over Cooper Kupp in fantasy." Well, I spoke too soon, because the Puka Nacua put his foot in my ass the rest of the year after I said that, basically.
Yeah, but I mean, you can there in no particular order. I think you can go a number of ways. Trill also asks where he can buy when you can buy rookie jerseys. Don't know. I think you can get them customized right now.
I would just say,
wait for the numbers.
Wait for the first official roster, just in case somebody changes the number.
Yeah, I will say this, like, if Brevin Jordan gets cut or something, then I think Higgins and Schultz might have to fight for the number, because I know Schultz wants it too. So they might have to figure that out, and then we'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, the rookie jerseys are always.
I promise you, someone's walking around out there with a Dell 13, and then he changed to 3. So I promise you, somebody's got a Dell 13 somewhere. But so I would, if you're getting a rookie, because as soon as the numbers finalized, they'll do a pretty good job of getting it in the shop.
Yeah, they'll get it there.
Stone
Alone is in the building. Shout out to Stone Alone, the
good
beast.
To see you. Appreciate you.
I saw Noel's interview with the St. Brown Bros too. Enjoyed that.
Well, Jalen Noel been on the interview circuit this offseason.
I think the Rookie Symposium had like a media section, so I think that kind of added to it. But yeah, he put up 23 reps, which
on the record,
the record's 27. Amon-Ra did 20, but he said his shoulder was hurt. I'm sure his dad did not want to hear that crap though. But he put up 20. Noel put up 23. They had like a guessing game, and Noel was actually pretty good. Like, he knew some of the OGs. He missed a few. Like, he didn't know who Marcus Colston was. He didn't know who Vince Young was based on the headshot. And he said, that's on me. But he was like describing his jersey number and all that. But the worst part about it, it wasn't that Noel didn't know an all-time Houston legend. It was the fact, and I think I think this is actually, it probably should have happened, but Amon-Ra St. Brown, Mr. USC, said Heisman winner for Vince Young, which he probably should have been. But Reggie Bush wanted it instead. They didn't catch that, but I caught that.
Oh, it's a worthwhile mistake to make.
Yep. So we'll keep an eye on all this. It's a good time to follow the squad. It's a good time to see what's popping. Damon Arnett signed, the Caley theory, and a lot of other good interaction, good questions with the peeps.
That's good. I love a little wide receiver talk too, because it's never too early to start thinking about fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, with the first pick, you're taking Chase, right?
Yeah, I would take Jamar Chase with my first pick.
Yeah, Chase instead of Jefferson. I don't trust McCarthy, but that might be. I didn't trust Arnold, so
I wish I had the full stat. But it's like 84% of teams in like regular Yahoo leagues last year that won had either Jamar Chase or Josh Allen on their team. It's like, that's pretty good.
Okay.
It's like,
that's a hell of a
stat, isn't it?
It's a hell of a stat. That's an interesting one. I wonder if I can get both of them. Nah. If you do, you're in good shape. Some people will let the quarterback slide.
In our league, maybe.
In our league, maybe. Not the most quarterback. I feel like the ADP, if we're thinking about this, I think the ADP of Marvin Harrison Jr., we might look back on it. It might have just been a delayed fuse. I think it might have just been a little bit of a delayed fuse with what people thought was going to immediately happen. I feel like that ADP, he's going second round no matter what, right?
Yes.
Because if he falls to third, then you've got to do it.
Hey, well, here's what I'm telling you. He ain't falling to the third round in our league. So it's if I could perfectly encapsulate what I'd like to do.
No, I already know what you want. You want the hook. You want the hook. You want the hook 12. Right there. You want 12, and then you want to combo it. Now, are you going to show him the respect and put him at the top of the hook? Or are you going to put him at the bottom of the hook? Are you going to give him that first round signing bonus or that second round signing bonus?
Depends who's there at 12, because there's 4 guys that would fit that 12-13, spin around for me. And if I could get Brian Thomas Jr. and Marvin Harrison Jr. back to back, I'll go ahead and start spending the money.
You're not getting that.
I'll go ahead.
You're not getting that.
Go ahead and start spending the money.
It's such a rough feel though on that hook, because it's fun, because you feel the satisfaction that you have when you feel like you got a good hook, whether it's in the snake, whether it's the 12-13 or the whatever, when you're the first pick, when you get that second and third round. It's good, but then you just feel so helpless. It's like the longest wait ever. It's like being in a damn emergency room, waiting for care. It's just like, and
you just wait, and you're just hoping that whatever you want falls to you, and then you typically, as it works, it just bam, 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 like 3-4 guys you want go in 5 picks, and you're just like, God.
Yeah, after the hook, you just need to go like get a drink or just chill, and then just hope that you get back for like the start of the third. Because you're going to drive yourself nuts. You don't even just mark off your sheet a little bit later. It's just not fun.
Yeah. That's when you just walk over. The guy that actually crosses off everything as you go. You just walk over and do a little cheat sheet off of his just real quick.
So, would you take Brian Thomas over Nico?
Yes.
Would you take Marvin Harrison over Nico?
No.
Okay. So there you go.
I think there's probably 5 or 6 guys I'd take over Nico, but Marvin Harrison's not one of them.
Yeah. I do wonder what it looks like at the end, but yeah, I wouldn't do that either. I think that would be kind of foolish, injuries or not. So
just give me Just give me Nico and McConkey at 12-13. Let's go.
What's the earliest you're taking Saquon? I feel like you would just avoid him altogether.
2.
Oh, so you would still go with it?
If I had 2 and that first person took Chase, I'd take Saquon.
Yeah. All right. Fantasy football season is upon us in the next couple months. Anyway, it's June.
Subscribe. I did see like a weird thing about him though. He had like it was like 40% of his production on 5 runs. Like it's pretty crazy.
You love this crap.
That's why I'm multi-time champion. That's why you've only been champ once.
Subscribe, like, right along. Always remember when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.
From rough life to the rough necks, really?